Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Black Girl Iowa podcast. I'm your host, Emily, and it has been a long time since I have done a solo episode, but I am here. I have no script. I have no idea what it is that I'm actually going to talk about, but I was actually just sitting in my living room working on a diamond painting. I had made myself some dinner when I got home, and I was watching a movie. Well, actually, no. I was actually watching a investigation series about murders over the last, 30 years, whatever. Because murder porn is a thing, right? Anyway, but I was basically just kind of sitting and just kind of thinking about the podcast and thinking about the fact that I have not recorded a solo episode. And I took a month off from the podcast and I released an episode this past Monday with the amazing Abana Sankofa Emotep. And I don't know, y'all. I just felt like maybe it's time for me to jump back on, hit record, and just see what happens. So, with that being said, I think maybe it's time to talk and be a little bit more real about things in life. And I know I've said this before on the podcast, and so I will go ahead and say it again. There are so many times in my life since my divorce, and I have been divorced for 3 years now, but there have been so many times in my life over the last 3 years, and maybe even before then, maybe that's like a little bit more digging deep that I need to do, that I have felt incredibly lost. And I know we all feel like that, and I know I talked about it last year, and I said, "Oh, I'm in my healing space," and I really do think that, like, this time last year, I absolutely was in my healing space, it was the beginning of the year, and I was realizing that for the first time since I was 19 years old, um, I was single, and I wasn't having to be with anybody else and worry about anybody else. And that was very, very new territory for me. Now that I am entering year two in the same space, I can honestly say that that lost feeling is still there and it's more prominent. And I don't know if it's that I feel lost. I don't know if it's my high anxiety. I don't know if I'm depressed. I don't really know exactly what it is. I do know that I'm in therapy and I do talk to my therapist, but I also can be fully aware in the idea that sometimes I don't know how to move. Sometimes I feel like it is so easy to move in spaces where you're supposed to move. What do I mean by that? It is incredibly easy for me to move at work. Um, when it is time to do a project, when it's time to do lesson plans, when it's time to step up and do something for the students at the school that I work at, it is so easy for me to get activated and get motivated and get going. I have a very, very regimented routine at work to where on Mondays, first thing I do on Mondays is I open up my paper planner and I start planning out and writing out my week. I write out my shifts for the week that I'm working, even though they're the same. I like to write them out anyway. I write down any one-on-ones with students that I have or any meetings that I might have going on. I write down any outside of school or work activities, like things that I do with my church, things I have going on with my friends, things that I have going with the Tawati Club. I write down my task list of things that I do every day. I brush my teeth. I take my AM meds. I journal. I do hobby time for 30 minutes, which could include me reading or working on a diamond painting or crafting of some kind, whatever. And then I write down my weekly Bible scripture and my home to dos. And I am about 85% of the weeks get fully completed and they're fine, right? But then there are times where I'm at home like this, right? And I don't know how to move. I don't know if I should lay in bed for an hour and just relax. I don't know if I should get up and work on my diamond painting. I don't know if I should maybe read for 30 minutes. I don't know. Okay, well, if I make dinner, I got to make the sides. I don't really feel like making the sides. I've got laundry. I never put my laundry away. So my clothes are just all over the place. You guys can probably see if you're watching the video of this podcast, my office is a mess and it has continuously been a mess. My office has actually only been clean maybe for about a solid 2 months since I started living in this apartment. And I don't know where to move. And sometimes I feel so paralyzed that I feel like if I were to focus on my laundry, then I'm losing something else. I feel like if I sit and read for an hour, or if I sit and do my diamond painting for 2 hours, I'm wasting time because I could have done something else. Again, I don't know if that's depression, anxiety, or what, but it's something that's affecting me, and I feel like also what's affecting me in that is working on this podcast. I launched this podcast in April, I started working on it in about March or April of 2024. I launched my first episode in June 2024. I released 36 episodes in my first season. So far in season 2, I have launched 16 episodes. And I still find it hard to come into this room, to come into this space, to sit down and to turn the mic on and to record. It's easy to talk to other people and share their stories. It's easy to have that dialogue with somebody else and go back and forth and learn about, why Jody Long wanted to become a reporter, and to understand the meaning of civic leadership and giving back to your community from Senator Renee Hardman. It's easy to do all of those things to me because it's easy for me to talk to people, but it is not easy for me to talk about myself and to talk about the things that are important to me. And I know I've talked about this on the podcast before. I know I have said things like this. I am deathly afraid that whatever I put out by myself will not be received well from people. And I have gotten it into my head that whatever it is that I have to say, it is not important. And isn't that crazy? Isn't it so crazy? And I don't know where exactly that comes from. I'm not sure if that's society telling me. I'm not sure if there was something that happened in my early adult years or during my teen years or adolescence or childhood or when the fuck ever. I don't know where this came about, that I can operate for other people. I can move for other people. I can share the stories of other people, but I can't share my own story. I would much rather be afraid than to actually do. And I'm wondering if that is why I had to take a break from the podcast, because I knew that the day of reckoning was coming, that I would have to sit here and I would have to record episodes by myself. Y'all, that scared the shit out of me. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And it's sad, like, I don't really know where that came from. And I have so many ideas. I have so many things that I want to do and things that I want to say on this platform that I've made for myself, but I haven't done it. I think I told you guys not too long ago, I wrote a book. I wrote a book. It is called Rooted and Rising, and it is specifically a journal for Black women to give themselves the time and space to really think about what it is that they want and to really pour into themselves through reflection, through goal setting. And it's a bunch of journal prompts. I love to journal. And I even am finding it hard to journal about shit that really bothers me, or journal about how I'm really feeling. I've read back a few of my journaling entries from the last few weeks, and I don't really say anything. I just kind of talk about my day and, you know, what I had for lunch and what I did, and that's it. I know I have more to say. I just haven't said any of it yet. And I don't really know how to fix that. And maybe it's not necessarily something that I need to fix. Maybe it's more so just something that I need to rip the Band-Aid off and start doing. But it's like, how do you rip the Band-Aid off of something when you have like an irrational fear for it? I have an irrational fear of really letting y'all in, the people that listen to this podcast. I have an irrational fear of I have this irrational fear of being like super upfront and honest about things. And I also think that, if what I'm doing turns on deaf ears, then like what's the point, right? If I were to truly invest and publish my book, what if nobody buys it, if I were to do a podcast about books and how much I love to read and how, there's really one person that really helped me kind of understand why I love reading so much. Would anybody really understand that? And I wish I could just get outside of my own head and just do it. But there's something that is always going to kind of hold me back a little bit. And I don't know. I just felt like I could have very easily got back on the podcast and did my, you know, my year in review from 2025 and told you all these great things, but I'm not going to lie, y'all, like the majority of 2025, am I going to cry? I might cry. The majority of 2025, y'all, I just feel like I walked around and I just didn't even know what way I was going. Majority of the year, y'all, I just felt like I didn't know what was up or down. And I was just kind of existing, you know? And I think, God, crying is really not good right now because I'm getting over a sinus infection and my nose is already super stuffed, which I'm pretty sure you guys can tell in my voice already. So I don't want to cry right now. And excuse my sniffles, but I did I feel like I walked around the majority of 25 just not knowing what the hell was going on. I knew what was expected of me at work. I knew what was expected of me with my friends and my family. I even knew what was expected of me with the podcast, but to set my own vibe and my own expectations, I couldn't figure it out. And the end of 2025 was kind of rough, hence the reason why I went on hiatus for about 6 weeks. And I really don't want that again, y'all. I don't I don't want to go through 2026 so afraid like I was in 2025. I don't want to be afraid. I want to be the brave woman that I thought I would be when I was a little girl. And I know I'm not there yet. And I don't know. I again I wrote my book and I have all of these ideas for different things that I want to do. And even I even wrote out a whole plan of launching another YouTube channel around diamond painting because it's something that I absolutely love to do. And I haven't done it yet. The plan is literally written out and it's sitting in a binder. I have a plan for books that I want to recommend during Women's History Month of books that I've read over the last few years. And I've read books by all kinds of authors and how much I've loved them and how much I want to just say, hey, read this book. It was so fucking good, right? That plan also is sitting. The only plan that I actually put into fruition that I've had for 4 years is if you guys are following me on Instagram, I'm actually doing a series about Black icons from Iowa. And I have 28 people that I'm showcasing throughout the month. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because me being the youth activities coordinator at my church, we actually just did a Black history presentation with the church. And instead of focusing on famous Black celebrities and civil rights leaders that we all learned about in school, I decided to have our kids stand up and speak about iconic Black Iowans that paved the way for all of us, that came before us and did some really incredible and amazing things in our state. And that's the only reason why I am doing this on Instagram is because I had already started the project in for my church. I feel bad about that because, it took me doing it for church for me to be like, "Oh, okay, let me put this out. And I'm really excited about it. We have 2.5 weeks left in the month and I mean, there are so many people that I'm gonna highlight. I can't wait. And some are living, some are no longer with us, but it's gonna be amazing. And I don't know. And I also don't exactly know where this is coming from either. I don't know if this is because and also in 2.5 weeks, I'm turning 40. But I don't know why I'm having this kind of full circle moment of clarity moment where I'm just starting to realize just how scared I've been of just doing things. I mean, Sometimes I am even afraid to do something as simple as like do laundry or like to actually like put my laundry away. Cause you guys should see my bedroom. It's a mess. But yeah, like I'm just afraid to do stuff. And ultimately I'm tired. I'm tired of being afraid to do stuff and I'm tired of walking around and just feeling like I'm floating through life and that I'm not living it. And I really I really want to change that. I really want to be able to do these things that I think are amazing and really put them out and share with other people without fear that what I'm doing is not going to be well received or is going to be seen as stupid or no one's going to buy my book or listen to my podcast or read or like watch my TikToks and things like that. So yeah, and I also think too that one of the things that I said on this podcast quite a bit, and this is something that I'm always going to believe no matter what, is that especially right now in our world, and this has always been, but nobody expects greatness from Black people, specifically white folks. There is not that expectation that we can be amazing. And one of the affirmations that I have is that you are capable of amazing things. And I really wish that for as much as I say that affirmation, I wish I believed it in myself. Because if I truly believed that I was capable of amazing things, then instead of doing amazing things for other people, like my job, I would do them for myself, like publishing my book, like launching my Diamond Art channel, being more apt and ready and willing to record an episode by myself. I feel like sometimes I also think too that like I have this tendency of restricting myself too much because even with how I set up interviewing people for my podcast is easy because I'm in control. I can, write my intro, I can write out the questions, I can prepare, know based on the date and the time that my interviewee selects, game on. Emily's ready for that. But when it comes to Emily writing a solo episode, I have written solo episodes. I probably have like 10 solo episodes written, y'all. But coming down and sitting down and actually recording them, it is so hard for me to do. And what I've noticed is I am incredibly hard on myself. I want to be perfect. I want to be good. I want people to think that what I am saying makes sense. And I think that what it is that I see my value in interviewing people and telling and helping tell someone else's story, but I still haven't really seen a lot of value in my own. And I don't know why that is. So maybe that is something that like I need to kind of go through in therapy some more, but that's the real. Like this is just kind of like that completely unfiltered part of Emily that a lot of people don't get to see just because I do kind of have that facade that I have it all together. I mean, right now it is Thursday, or nope, it's not Thursday. Right now it is Wednesday, February 11th at 9:49 p.m. I am in my pajamas. My dog is behind me. And again, I was just sitting in the living room and I'm like, I think I need to just go ahead and get this off my chest. Am I going to make promises on here and say, I'm going to do this and by my birthday, I'm going to have this done and all this other stuff? No, I'm not going to say any of that. But what I will say though is that the number one thing I am going to try to do is operate in an uncomfortable space that I put myself in. When I say that, do I operate in uncomfortable spaces all day, every day? I'm the only Black woman at my job, like absolutely all day, every day. I am always operating in an uncomfortable space. But those spaces I put myself into because obviously I need to get paid and I need to make money and all of those things, right? When I say an uncomfortable space, I say it more as in, if Emily wants to get on here and talk about housewives, I don't need anybody to talk about housewives with me. I should just go ahead and talk about it. If Emily wants to come on here and talk about her dating experience and the dumpster fire that her love life can be at times, which it's not a dumpster fire now. I am happily single and I am very, very much enjoying my own company and not having to deal with another person. Like, period. Then yeah, but has my love life been a dumpster fire? And do I have stories that I could absolutely tell about some of the shenanigans from the last 3 years of my life? Absolutely, I could do that. Almost 4, actually. Anyway, do I want to come on here and talk about books? Do I want to come on here and just, talk about how awesome Bad Bunny was at the Super Bowl over the weekend? Yeah, I have every right to do those things. And so I think moving forward, I would really like to start putting myself in this uncomfortable space and just start doing things and not getting in my head so much about them. Because again, feeling like you have no purpose is one of the worst feelings in the world. And it can definitely take you down a path that is scary, and it's not safe, it's not healthy, and it's lonely. Because when you go down that path, you don't want to take anyone with you. And when I say you don't want to take anyone with you, I mean, again, it's that value of life. It's like I value everybody else's life and time more than me. So whatever I am going through, I'm not going to burden somebody else with that. So that's the real. That's 118% the real. I don't know when my next episode is going up. I will tell you, I do have quite a few interview episodes that are still pending. Last year, I had the opportunity to talk to some really great people, and I'm really excited to premiere those episodes for you all. And don't be surprised if another episode is released of Emili just kind of jumping on the mic and just talking about where she is and how she's feeling on things. Because the one thing that I did really appreciate about my podcast is that when it was released, I was actually going through probably one of the hardest times of my life outside of my sister dying and my divorce. And this podcast became therapeutic for me. And I would really love to bring that back. And I'd really love to feel that again. So, with that being said, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for following me on Instagram or TikTok. Thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing to and following the show on wherever it is that you may get your podcast, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora. It doesn't matter. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you commenting, following, all of those things. But most importantly, I appreciate you guys for making sure that I don't feel alone. And I lost sight of that a little bit. So I really hope that I can take this conversation that I had with y'all today, and partially with myself, and get back to doing what I love, which is doing this podcast, bringing you guys amazing interviews with some amazing people in this community, and sharing more about my life, because just like everybody else's story matters, so does mine. So with that being said, this has been your girl Emili with the Black Girl Iowa podcast, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.